I get asked all the time, Tamara, how long should my podcast be? Well, the truth is, it depends. Hi, my name's Tamara Thompson, the host of Video Marketing for Business podcast. When you're starting your podcast, maybe you already have a podcast, maybe you're thinking about starting a podcast. There's different ways and formats to actually create podcasts, right? So, maybe you're resonating with the sense of creating educational podcast, quick tips that are also placed on YouTube that can be repurposed into an audio podcast. Maybe that's your vibe. Maybe your shows are 5 to 10 minutes long, right? That would be a great length to start with, especially if you want to put those video podcasts on YouTube specifically. Because YouTube's actually watching watch time the most, right? So when you're hitting your mark for your watch time on YouTube, you have the more opportunities for YouTube to start rewarding you and saying, hey, I'm going to start suggesting your videos because you're sticking with it and people are actually watching it 5 to 10 minutes long, right? And that's your target. Then that's the target of what your videos should be, especially if you're using that for your podcast, right? Let's say you have a podcast and you love conversations, you want to deep dive into conversations, and you have some great guests coming in as well. For myself and the way that I recommend it to our clients, I say if you're going to have some sort of conversational talk that's not really having a main focus, but that person that's coming in has some sort of focus as well. It's truly just conversational, or maybe it's just a round table of a bunch of people that are coming in onto the show, just chit-chatting it up. Those can be like 30 minutes long. A lot of people might have them come in to be an hour. It's totally up to you on that sense. But if you are repurposing this podcast onto YouTube, I do not suggest going over 30 minutes on those conversational podcasts unless you may have a huge following. Because if you have a huge following at that point, then more people are prone to actually watch that at a longer length and binge listen to your podcast. So definitely consider that length between 30 minutes and 60 minutes for a conversational podcast. Same with interview podcasts. So if you're coming in, I always recommend to our clients, 20 to 30 minutes max on the interview podcast. Have a structure. Your guests coming in, they're going to talk about this topic and they're going to talk about these 3 things within that topic. Because then you keep it focused, you're directing your guest. You've already informed them that the episode's going to be a maximum of 30 minutes. That's what I do for my podcast. And then they're aware from the beginning, so it's not lingering on to something that all of a sudden is now 60 minutes. Yes, of course, podcasts can run over, people get inspired, or you're having this deep conversation or interview that has a bunch of golden nuggets just within that show. But really think about it and strategize. If you are on YouTube, you want to watch that length time. And if you're just starting out and you're just starting a podcast and maybe you don't have a huge following, consider those numbers. Keep your podcast shorter depending on the type of podcast that you want to create for your audience. Because if you have a huge influencer on your show, let's say you were like, I'm having Joe Rogan come on my show, right? Joe Rogan gets millions and millions of downloads and views, and he's all over social media, right? And so he is highly searched on YouTube and Google, right? So if you're like, wow, I got Joe Rogan to come on my show, that's fantastic. Definitely have him stay for 60 minutes because people will listen to the content, they will consume it, and you can use his name as a proper keyword on YouTube to do so. And that's what's unique about that. So if you're having influential people on your podcast, do the market research, see how often they are searched, on YouTube and Google. You can use a tool that we use with our clients called Keywords Everywhere that can actually say like, hey, this influencer is searched so much. And then that's the point of actually, creating that experience. So hopefully this provides some overall thought to how long your podcast should be. If you're actually looking to start a podcast and you're like, wow, I haven't even thought about starting a podcast or been thinking about it, or you just started one and you don't have a marketing system in place for that, check out broadcastyourauthority.com and see how we're helping people grow and engage their podcast platforms today. Be sure to subscribe, ring the bell for content just like this, and I'll see you in the next video.